But what do we do here? Do you see anything catching your...
Well, I love this tree. Interests me, and
Yeah.
the light hitting the tree. Just the one of my self-criticisms is that sometimes I can get too preoccupied with graphics, graphics and form, to the exclusion of content of subject, subject content.
I know we actually were talking about that in the course. On the one hand, you have fine art photography, which is form and graphics, and then you have, with photojournalism, you have the content.
It's all content and not necessarily form.
But if you can bring those two together.
The ideal, like Salgado. Yeah, Salgado is the master of that. Any one of Salgado's photographs is a great documentary photograph, but it's also a photograph you'd hang on the wall.
It has that...
Yeah, whatever the subject matter. Even if it's the most grotesque subject matter, it's a beautiful photograph.
So here we have the last bit of light, because it's already gone from that side of the house pretty much.
And what I like when it's light, I love shafts of light coming through and finding a subject that's just going through that shaft of light, so that like there's a woman over there, the sunlight just hitting her face.
Now you have
and everything else in shadow.
Should we use her as a subject?
No, because I'm moving.
Okay, well that.
But it was not when she's sitting there. Yeah,
that's.
I'm always looking for those sort of little, and on that scale as well. A very small scale. Yeah.
So tell me about. So you make many points, but obviously one of the key things is making sure you get a punctuation point.
Yeah.
And
that's what those people with the dog would have been.
Yeah.
If I was photographing these grounds, they would have been the punctuation.
The red collar.
Yeah, well, just the fact it's a dog.
Oh, I see.
It doesn't matter what it is, but it would have to read. So you make sure the dog's tail is up in the air probably, and the dog's legs are apart. You got to get the right gesture with the dog.
Right.
Because again, it's a small element, but it's punctuation. It has to read. But it can be anything. It can be an inanimate object.
Do you see an example here you could point out? Okay. All right.
Well, the only thing possible is that traffic cone, but it's not.
Yeah, but that's pretty.
It's not particularly interesting.
Not great.
Yeah.
Would you consider
the chair?
I was going to say the bench, maybe.
The bench, maybe, if the light on the bench was nice. Well, one thing I noticed is, the graphics of these trees and the sun behind and these clouds. That's not a bad shot, actually.
It's a backlit where you've got the golden light coming through.
Look there. Yeah,
would you go through that point about getting the starburst and setting it at f/22, the sunburst?
Yeah, we can. Oh, we can. Yeah, if you want to get in really, it depends on your lens. You have to have a lens, a pretty good lens, so that it's got a lot of aperture blades.
Yeah.
It's only got a few blades. A cheap lens isn't going to work as well.
And
it has to be good optics. But if you have some good glass on your camera, most lenses these days are pretty good.
Yeah.
Even off-brand lenses are great. Sigma, Tamron.
Yeah.
But everyone makes really good lenses. And if you want to get a starburst,
you should be able
set your ISO a little bit higher and stop down to. I usually stop down to 22, and then move your camera so that you shoot right into the sun. And now I've got a nice clean burst.
Nice.
That's better still from here.
Yeah, otherwise you get this sort of pixelated, blurry.
Yeah, and use these shots.
But that's a nice one.
Yep, that works beautifully.
Oh, that's nice, Bob. It's amazing. There are certain photographs I'm sure we've all taken so many times, like this, backlit, sun coming through, but it still works.
Yeah.
It still works.
It's a bit of a cliche, but...
It's a cliche, but it's not a bad one.
It's not a bad one.
It works.
I find myself doing it quite often. And
it's hard to resist. You've got this gourd.
It never fails to impress me.
That's important, too.
Yes.
I want to walk over here so you can see the Carmel mission. But the other thing you mentioned and we talked about is you're always really observing what the light is doing. Like, look at these long shadows we have.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool,
nice.
Isn't it?
It is. Yeah, I love shadows.
And they're so long because the sun is just about to set.
Yeah. Now that could be the punctuation.
Just the shadow itself.
Just the shadow itself, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I see what you mean. Because it's on the grass, and
Yeah.
grass is so bright green.
What I like now, this is a wide lens, which is my favourite lens.
What
for
is that?
shooting.
What's
It's
the...
a 14 to 30.
Ooh,
It's a new Z.
14 to
It's an
30.
incredible lens. Yeah, it's a new Nikon Z series lenses.
And what do you think you're set at, millimeter wise?
At 30 for this.
You're at 30?
Yeah. Because after that starburst again.
Yeah. Oh, it's even better.
Yeah, it's a little bit more interesting here. Now the problem with these starbursts is getting it just right, so that you've got to have something in front of it. Otherwise you don't get the sun bursting through. I'm not quite in the right.
So you have some layers there too.
Yeah.
You got the trees that are far away, and then the ones that are a little closer.
Oh, I see why it isn't working quite so well.
Mm.
Because there's a layer of cloud.
Ah, so that's dispersing the light all
Yeah,
over.
it's softening it, so
Yeah.
you need a very clear sun to get a true star. Yeah, it's not working as well as that did because
because you're right. It's
there's
like
a little bit of
it's like a diffuser.
diffuser in front.
But let's look over here. So your process, I know it's like sometimes hard to get inside somebody's head and articulate it, but that I know you're always scanning for a photograph. You're looking at the light.
Yeah.
And then you're scanning the frame itself to make sure nothing extraneous is in there. There's the mission right down there.
Oh, I see it.
It's a bit hard to see because we've been staring at the sun.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. And that was built in 1771. It's quite amazing. Again, we were just kids then, Bob.
And your house is down here somewhere, isn't
My house is just right over there.
Ooh, this is pretty right here.
it?
Ooh,
Oh,
look.
yes.
That might give you what you're looking for, Bob.
Maybe. Let's see. I don't think so. No, it's the damnedest thing. It's not really.
And you shoot often with this wide lens, right?
Yeah, I love this lens. If I only had one lens, it would probably be this.
Really?
But at times it's very limiting.
Not the 24 to
obviously.
70.
No, I use that as well.
Yeah.
And I guess to be honest, I'd use the 24-70 as a standard lens. But I love this.
But I know one of the things you like to do is shoot wide but move in close, right?
Yeah.
Which gives that real intimate feel.
Yeah, I love to get this. When you're shooting, if you shoot with a long lens, there's always a feeling of detachment,
Yeah.
as though you're a voyeur. If you get in close with a wide, you're actually part of the subject, and it's difficult for most people to do because you
really have to get
to
close.
be there. You have to be very present
Yeah.
and in people's face. But you get a feeling of immediacy if you move in with a wide. You have to be careful because a wide lens distorts.
True.
If I'm shooting with 14mm and there's somebody at the edge, it makes them look twice as big as they really are.
And their hands get big.
And the hands get big.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to be very careful about how you use them. But generally, I try to keep it to 20-24, and you get a feeling of being part of the scene, that you're there with the people.
That's a really good
And I
tip.
love that. And you have to be very aware of everything that's happening in the frame. So anything between 20 and 35 for me is ideal.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect focal length.
Yeah. So this place just sits here, waiting for something to happen to it.
Yeah.
It's funny, I was shooting with a model and that light just came on and it actually worked. It gave, because it's very warm light,
Yeah.
and it just filled up and gave her a little catch light in her eye, and it was very
It's a
fortuitous.
pretty neat building.
Pretty cool.